So, to continue on once more from last time, Shademan's pissed that the dark chips which have powered his forces are in fact destroying them from the inside out, and now he's got revenge on his mind against the Dark Lord's benefactor. This all happening while more and more standard navies have become infected with the dark chips themselves, their ubiquity beginning to get out of hand. It being so bad that Rockman and Neto have had their hands full just quarantining navies overcome by the Dark Souls, having to defeat 3 that same day, with a 4th case just reported, and it's not even noon yet. Even Blues and Enzon are being overwhelmed, as Neto's actually being sent to the dark chip rampages that the rival pair can actually respond to themselves. And this is a pair that have shown in the past the capability to defeat multiple navies at once that is being said about them, with Yurichiro back at the lab giving bad news to Neto and Enzon about these Dark Soul-infected navies. They still don't know what special properties in the dark chips are so corruptive to their users, so they can't even begin to repair the damage they've done to the infected navies, meaning all of them they've captured will have to stay locked in quarantine, making it all the more essential that our heroes never even consider using them. And with them just exhausted, they end up being sent an anonymous message that tells them where the primary storage warehouse for dark chips may have been hidden, which should allow them to stem this tide. Rin being the one to check out the lead. Well, that's foul luck. Give me that one, it's where you can make that pun. Actually, the smuggled dark chips were hidden among the dolls as contraband. After all, if you see one thing in a shipment of items, then to the untrained or unobservant, you're not going to look underneath that to see what's actually there. A metaphor for media analysis, to be honest, though sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Yuriko reports their arrival to her boss, who chooses to immediately gaslight that this is the place they're looking for by sending down dimensional area converters to form a barrier over the building. Neto and Enzon are called in, with Nebula's boss contacting Shademan and asking for his help, as most of Nebula's dark ships are supposedly stored at that location. Yeah, Shademan sent them the anonymous tip. It makes sense. Enemy of my enemy and all that. He sends Gravity Man, previously seen in the Network Transmission GameCube game that released a few months before this, to deal with them this time. Yeah, as I remember discussing before, well, Battle Network 4 didn't actually release until a few months after this series started. Thus, while some navies in the games have appeared here as the show's writers got information on the game to work with, there's a reason most of the navies here have been from Battle Network 3 and other games. The only exception thus far having been Shademan, Burnerman, Aquaman, Videoman, and Searchman. Now, as I've said on the subject before, being able to have an eclectic rogues gallery is an asset to the series at this point to better focus on an antagonist rotation, as it can give new challenges each episode. It's just always a matter of timing them. And speaking of timing, both Neto and Enzon have to find their own ways into the building. Neto finding a sufficient slope to use with his skates, while Enzon... Not like they have an easy time once they're inside either, as the place is swarming with high-level viruses. And of course, booby traps. This is where they encounter Gravity Man, who uses its power to cripple them with a supermassive graviton field that drops them to the ground and causes their shots to be deflected. Yeah, dude attacks them with proto-black holes and physically crippling gravity, showing more to the merit of this guy as an enemy than Network Transmission actually did. Still, Gravity Man keeping them occupied allows Shademan to perform his true plan. In revenge against their benefactor, he's stealing all the dark chips himself. Dude, you already know that the dark chips are actually bad for you and the other Dark Lloyds. Why do you want to steal them for yourself all of a sudden? It's not like you're suddenly going to be able to power through the data corruption by having more of them. That's entirely the problem. However, Neto and Enzon notice that Gravity Man can only focus on debilitation or attack or defense one at a time. Thus they get the idea to split their attacks, forcing it to attack and debilitate Neto, which leaves them completely open to Enzon counterattacking. However, it looks like Yuriko and her boss foresaw Shademan's betrayal. In the vault, him only finding one dark chip. Their stockpile of the devices is far, far away from here already.
そのチップはわざわざいらしていただいたお駄賃です。
Shademan mad. Shademan very, very mad. And thus he decides to take out his anger on some humans that are left in his way. One hit KO, but the only reason they're not dead is the dimensional area collapsing, ending the entire incident. The wrap-up. We have a Xanatos Gambit for Nebula throwing one over Shademan's eyes. We have You Do Not Know the Power for Shademan legitimately being that much stronger than our heroes at the moment. There's a reason he doesn't normally get off his throne. Following from before once again shows the strength of the current main arc away from the inanity of the filler, and once more presents how the status quo is shifting away from the episodic for the time being. Especially as it fully shifts the dynamic of the villains and their fracturing allegiances. It's a pity, though, that this is the end of said arc for some time. For next up, it's more Bubble Man.